One of the most underrated and almost forgotten parts of Watch Dogs 1 was its invasion multiplayer mode. Back in 2014, most open-world games separated single-player and multiplayer completely. You either played through the story, or you hopped into a totally different lobby for some competitive matches. But Watch Dogs 1 blurred those lines in a way that was both brilliant and terrifying. And honestly, way ahead of its time. Here's how it worked. You'd be roaming Chicago in your single-player world, maybe doing missions or just messing around when suddenly, bam, another player could invade your game. They'd seamlessly slip into your city without warning, disguised as an NPC, and their goal was to hack you without being detected. The idea was so simple, but the execution created some of the most tense, paranoid, and memorable moments the game had to offer. Think about what this did to the atmosphere. Suddenly, every NPC you scanned with Aiden's profiler wasn't just some random character with a funny backstory. Any one of them could be another real player hiding in plain sight. That old lady on her phone? That construction worker leaning on a wall? Either one of them could be trying to hack you. It forced you to look at the city differently. The game turned its own open-world population into a playground of suspicion, and it made you hyper-aware of your surroundings. And when the invasion kicked off, the tension was unreal. You knew someone was out there. You knew they were trying to drain your data, but you had no idea who they were or where they were hiding. You had a timer ticking down and a search area to sweep through, and while you scrambled to spot them, they were doing everything they could to blend in, moving just enough to stay disguised, acting like an NPC, even crouching behind cover when you weren't looking. What made it so good was that it wasn't just about combat. You didn't win by shooting first. You won by being smarter, by observing the little tells that gave a player away. Maybe they walked in a weird pattern. Maybe they sprinted when no NPCs around them were sprinting. Or maybe they just couldn't resist looking at you when you got close. That cat and mouse game was more thrilling than most scripted missions in the story. And it worked both ways. When you invaded someone else's game, the pressure flipped. You were the one sneaking around, trying to stay calm, while the other player scanned crowds, got closer, and maybe even stared right at you without realizing you were the threat. The adrenaline rush was unmatched. Every second felt like it could be the moment you were caught. And if you were exposed, suddenly it turned into a desperate chase through the streets of Chicago, with you trying to escape before they took you down. What's wild is how much this mode captured the spirit of Watch Dogs. The whole game was about surveillance, paranoia, and the idea that anyone could be watching. The invasion system turned that theme into actual gameplay. It wasn't just narrative, it was player versus player paranoia, baked directly into the open world. Ubisoft nailed the vibe, even if people didn't fully realize at the time how ahead of the curve it was. The sad thing is, this feature kind of got buried under all the launch controversy and the focus on graphics downgrades. People didn't talk about it as much as they should have. But if you go back today and replay Watch Dogs 1 with invasions on, it feels like something that could easily exist in a modern game. In fact, a lot of people argue that it inspired later systems in games like Dark Souls Invasions or even multiplayer elements in titles like Elden Ring. The DNA of letting another player slip seamlessly into your world is everywhere now. But back then, it was groundbreaking. Looking at it from a 2025 perspective, you could argue that Ubisoft was experimenting with one of the earliest forms of organic multiplayer. Instead of dragging you into lobbies and scoreboards, it made the invasion feel like just another part of the world. It respected immersion while still letting you compete. And even if you lost, it didn't feel cheap.